Welcome to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy, and today we're going to tell you about Michael Bryson.
Don't forget to smash that like button and go and check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends. And also...
Yeah, Haley's back.
I'm back, yeah.
We wrangled her in one more time, guys.
Every time I think I'm done,
they pull me back in. Today we're going to be talking about a missing person in Oregon. Facebook is very active for this case. It happened back in 2020, so for the last 4 years, there has been a lot. And this is another case with a lot of people involved, so there's a lot of theories, a lot of rumors, a lot of drama. So we will try to stick mostly to the facts, things that people have said publicly, and there has been some recent activity, as in within the last month. Back in 2020, there was a podcast that was done by a local woman, and she interviewed several people directly involved, Michael's parents and sister, and a lot of people who were at this party. So a lot of information came from those interviews. If you want to hear them in their entirety, the podcast is called Nowhere to Be Found, and Michael's story is season 1. And this is another one that, like I said, there's a lot of people involved, so there's a lot of names to keep straight. Try not to, mess it up.
I get confused easily.
I
You
know.
can just say that.
I said I know. I'll try. Michael Bryson was raised in the church. He didn't know a stranger. He played sports and he was a Boy Scout. He was loving, funny, empathetic, accepting, and understanding. When he was younger, he was taken to a movie theater to see Pocahontas, and he fell in love. Not with Pocahontas, but with the movies. So for his 14th birthday, his parents, Parrish and Tina, took Michael and some other kids from church to the movies to celebrate. And they were going to see a wonderful movie that Michael picked out about a blended family. And that movie was Step Brothers.
Oh, shit. They didn't even know what they were getting into.
Mm-mm.
That poor kid, oh my goodness. Did you
All
touch
of
my
his
drum
kids.
set?
Yes.
Yes.
Dad, where's the power drill? I want to build bunk beds.
This was a horrible idea.
No power tools. That's my toothbrush.
And they can laugh about it now too. But Michael ended up going to Mexico to build houses. He went on a mission trip to Liberia, Africa, when he was only 17 years old for about 2.5 weeks to outreach to kids living in the bush and get them to come to school. He came home, finished his final year of high school, and started college. At 19 years old, he went to Africa again, but to Kenya this time. And apparently, he witnessed some things. And back at college, he changed the type of friends he hung out with. He was never diagnosed with a mental illness formerly, but he showed symptoms of bipolar disorder. He would be prescribed meds like gabapentin for anxiety and depression, but always had a reason to stop taking them, like they made him feel sick, he lost his appetite, things like that. He started self-medicating with marijuana and alcohol. He started getting into EDM music and raves. He was introduced to Molly and ecstasy, which he used when he was at the raves, not on daily use. He would even DJ sometimes himself. He transferred for his second year of college, and the marijuana use ramped up. He left school and moved back in with Parrish and Tina. And he ended up leaving there too and moving to Eugene, which is where things got worse.
And, whenever they get older, when they get older on their own, sometimes, kids go a little wild.
True.
Oh, except me. I was an angel. Don't turn it off. Don't.
Sure.
Okay.
So Michael moved to Eugene, where he did start using meth, and this lasted for about 8 months, to the point where Parrish and Tina stopped giving him money and changed the locks on their house. They told him that they would not support his habit. And there's a fine line with a parent because, you want your kids to have everything they need. But when you know that money that you gave them for food or bills is being used for drugs, it borders on enabling. So tough love it was. Finally, Michael asked for help. So his parents loaded him up and were taking him to California to rehab. In Glenwood, Michael got a little out of control. Reality had set in, and he changed his mind. They pulled in a gas station parking lot and called Tina's brother, Trent. He was a Eugene police officer, and they asked him for help. Some other cops came to the scene and told them to either arrest him or bury him. They had seen this time and time again and had to break down the ugly truth to them. He was spiraling, so they had him arrested, thinking he would be in jail for a couple of days. but it turned into 22 days. So he did detox in jail. They agreed to come pick him up, but only if he went to rehab. And they did. So he spent another 22 days in rehab.
It has to suck to have to like detox in jail.
Right?
I mean, detoxing is rough on its own.
Yeah. But jail is not meant to be comfortable.
No.
So I can only imagine the suck factor of being in jail too. So he got out of rehab and went back to his life. He was back to using marijuana and alcohol, but not the other stuff. Within the last 3 years or so, he did fall back into the ecstasy and Molly. He was thinking about starting an apprenticeship to be an electrician, maybe moving to California. He was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. And then he was invited to a party at the Hobo Campground, which is east of Dorena Lake in Oregon. And this is a beautiful place, but it is very remote. So remote that the cops don't even go there. But there was a girl, Josie, who was turning 21, and they were setting up something similar to what they call a renegade that was lasting 4 to 5 days. I was never into the rave scene, but we all picture like an abandoned warehouse or something, loud electronic music, maybe some glow sticks, things like that. So it's like that, but outside. Josie messaged Michael, inviting him to the party and saying they were looking for DJs, asking him if he wanted to spin. Typically, at a renegade, from what was said on these interviews, it was typically a $50 to $150 cover charge to get in, and they generally provided a sample of whatever drug that they had, and then you could purchase more if you like it. You get like a sample. But it was said for this one, since it was a birthday party, there was no cover charge, but then there was also no security and no checkpoints. On Monday, August 3rd, he went to his parents' house to ask for some extra money. Parrish was happy to hand it over, but not for free. He had Michael do some things at the house, and he told Michael that he had more stuff to do, so if he wanted to come back when he had more time, he would pay him for more. So that was the plan. Michael had dated a girl named Natalie for about a year before they broke up, but they were still in touch, still friends. He texted her that day, "Got a weird feeling something's going to go down tonight." She asked what he means, and he says, "IDK, just an off feeling, or running into someone that I'm not chilling with." And then he said, "Yeah, I just got an off feeling. Oh well, there will be plenty of people there."
I wish people just listen to their gut instinct more.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Trust it.
You have to, but he didn't. I wish he had. Also, his roommate Sean had tried to talk him out of going too, because there were typically a lot of drugs at renegades and raves, and Sean and Natalie had been trying to get Michael to slow down. He was originally supposed to ride out there with the twins. This is how they're referred to everywhere. And that's Kasaya and Kalia. But he had a doctor's appointment for his shoulder at 6:30, and they were heading out earlier. So he rode out there with his friend Ben. They left at around 8:30, and they did get lost a couple of times because, like I said, this is very remote. So they didn't actually get to the camp until about 10:30 that night. There were 2 school buses out there. One smaller one that was a makeshift stage, and they had 3 DJs there from Monday to Wednesday to keep the music going. The other was a full-sized one that had kind of been converted into a party bus, and people were there set up to sleep in tents on the buses, in their cars, on hammocks. It was just a little free-for-all situation. And there was a 30-foot half dome set up with a photo booth inside. There was a professional camera, lights, beanbag chairs. So sometimes people slept in there or just hung out.
It sounds like they were glamping.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
Yeah.
And this was a hobo camp?
Well, that's the name of it, is Hobo Campground. But it's not a hobo camp, no. It's a regular camp.
What the fuck?
And this is
Camp
stuff.
this?
This is stuff that they all set up for the party. They started setting up for the party on Sunday, Monday, and I didn't hear anything about a porta potty, so they were still peeing in the woods. But yeah, otherwise it sounds like a pretty comfortable setup.
Come on down to our party. Bring a shovel.
Bring a shovel.
Oh God.
Gross. It sounds like a lot of people stayed up all night on Monday, including Michael. And there are reports of a woman from down the road that was a little too wild, fornicating on the outside table, squirting breast milk on people's cigarettes, and overall harassing people. She even walked inside. So there was people at a campsite next to theirs that was not involved in the party. And this woman barged into the RV at 2:00 in the morning, accusing the woman of sleeping with her husband.
If you could just see me and Haley's face right now.
Oh, was it the breast milk that got you?
Yeah.
What?
So one of the guys at the party said that he was literally smoking a cigarette and she took it from him, pulled out her breast, squirted breast milk on it, and gave it back to him. Yes. And I guess she was doing that with everybody.
She's like, here, let me give you something.
Yeah. Yeah. She was wild. Now, birthday girl Josie had enough of her shit, and they got into an argument. The woman started screaming for her purse so she could get her gun. And that's when Josie put hands on her. They got into a fight. Apparently Josie won. So the woman left.
But hey, I mean, you know, some guys, you know, they go places and they pay good money to have that happen.
You should stop talking.
You know,
yeah, you
just
should.
saying.
Nope.
That's my father, everyone.
I'm not one of them, but I mean, I've heard of these things.
There's a fetish for everything.
And that's my mother, everyone.
Welcome to Trauma Town.
If that ever happened, I'd be like, what the fuck?
That's how they were acting. They were like, I didn't ask for that. Yeah. Oh, no thanks.
Go, Josie.
Josie was like, get out. Yeah. Apparently she mopped the floor with her. Is what the guy said. And Michael had been.
I mean, I imagine she mopping the floor probably, yeah, because it's probably.
I mean, it was dirt ground, so.
It's probably wet.
Gross.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I've got to take a moment.
Play the end music.
We're done. We're out. Michael had been hitting on a girl named Ashley, but she told him that she had a boyfriend. They were having trouble, but she was still not available. And she says he politely switched to the friend zone. No problems. She even told Tina later that she raised a perfect gentleman. Later, he tells another party goer, Donovan, that someone stole his wallet off of one of the buses and he had $600 in it. I guess they had a noise complaint from a camper about 1.5 miles away. So the Forest Service had sent someone on Tuesday to threaten to take all their music equipment if they didn't turn it down.
Damn, 1.5 miles away?
This is a rave in the woods, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was going wild. So that first night was crazy. A man there named Warren, he's the one who talked about the breast milk on the cigarette.
Oh, God.
Just not going to let that one go.
Nope. He had some things said about him too. So every person in this thing has had someone come back and say that they were liars or they were this or they were that. So I'm just telling you what they said. He was there, but he didn't really know anyone. He had been invited there by Michelle, who is birthday girl Josie's mom. And he came and helped set up and was kind of just hanging out. Tuesday, he couldn't find his axe or his saw. And he found it at another camper's site and got it back and cut some kindling up. He went to bed early, so he doesn't have too much information to offer. He did say that there was ketamine, acid, and cocaine going around. He also had someone come up to him and said that they were making a beer run into town and asked if he needed anything. He gave them $20 to get him cigarettes and a bottle of Coke before he went to bed. The next morning, he asked where those guys were, and he was told that they didn't get back until the middle of the night, so they didn't know where his cigarettes and Coke were.
Or his $20.
Yeah.
20 is 20.
$20 is $20. But they thought that this was odd because of the timing of when they went to town and why they were gone for so long. So that's been under question. That's why I brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to throw out there that there's a lot of people saying that there was no acid there. Warren said there was, for sure. And so this is a point of contention. After Warren went to bed, because he went to bed at like 8 o'clock, Michael and Donovan were drinking beer, and Michael allegedly did ketamine. Now, Bree and her boyfriend, who knew Michael, got there at around 12 to 12:30 a.m., so now we're into Wednesday morning. Ben had already went to bed. He went to bed early too, about midnight, 11:30, 12 o'clock. But Bree said that Michael was throwing up. He did rally, and later reportedly was more like himself. Some even said that he did a DJ set at about 2 a.m. And the story is that around 4 a.m., Michael was on the bus talking to a woman named Ashley and one of the twins, Kasaya. They said that mid-conversation, Michael said, "You guys don't want me here." And he got up and walked off the bus. No one saw which direction he went, and no one has seen him since. Bree and Kasaya started looking for him immediately, but they can't find him. They assume that he wandered off and passed out somewhere. Some other party goers got in a car and drove up and down the road checking for him. Reportedly, they had flashlights at the campgrounds and were yelling his name through a bullhorn. At 8 to 8:30 a.m., Warren woke up, the guy with the axe, and his axe was gone again. The guy who had it the night before was also gone. Now, spoiler alert, he never found his axe. He says no one said anything to him about anyone being missing, much less that people were going around looking for him. The 3 DJs who were there and were familiar with Michael because they had done a couple of sets on stage, remember? None of them knew anything about someone being missing, and they said that no one was walking around looking for him.
Well, which one was it?
Exactly.
Right? Were they looking for him or not?
Exactly. Every time something comes up in this, you've got a completely conflicting story every single time.
That's what happens when you have so many people involved in
Yes.
something.
Man, it's kind of
Yes.
like the what was the other party story?
There's a lot, actually.
No,
It's kind of sad.
the one that was people were.
You're talking about Noah Presgrove?
That's it. No Presgrove.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So
100%.
many people had something to say, but nothing matched.
Nothing matches. Yeah. Timelines don't match. It's just crazy. And it all depends on who you ask. Now, stories, like I said, are drastically different. And it all has something to do with perception too, because like Trent, the uncle, like he said, you can have a guy walk into a bank full of people and rob it, and you're going to get 10 different descriptions of what this guy looked like, what he was wearing. It's because of how things are perceived. Maybe somebody didn't get a good angle. Maybe they were looking at it with a glare and it looked a different color. Maybe they're colorblind like Darren, and it looked brown when his shirt was actually blue. You know what I mean? Things like that. And
But don't start sending me color charts asking me to say what color this is.
Or the ones with the number in it. He can't see
Yeah,
those.
those right there. Yeah, I get those a lot. Where people are like, hey, what number's in this? I'm like, hey, fuck you.
Why do you keep testing my problems? Like,
Yeah,
Just
it doesn't
accept
get
it.
better over time
No.
or with age. If anything, it gets worse.
right. Now, Donovan said that he woke up around 8 to 9 a.m. and there was a handful of people looking for Michael. They weren't actively waking people up, though. The twins were supposed to go into town to get a signal and call for help because out here you get no signal. Instead, though, they reportedly went home and took a shower, picked up another person, and came back. And then they sent that person back into town to call for help. And Ben went with them. The phone chain started. Ben called search and rescue. Sean was called to see if Michael came home. Sean then called Natalie to see if she had heard from him. And it was around 5 p.m. that Natalie texted Tina asking if she had heard from Michael.
13 hours after he walked off.
Yes, ma'am. That's when his parents finally find out that he's missing. So Tina and Parrish get their stuff together and head to Hobo Camp. It was about 6 to 6:30 when she called the police to report him missing. And she called them while on the way to camp because she knew once she got there, she wouldn't be able to. They got to the campground at about 7:15 and search and rescue was already there. Some people were scared and worried. Some were still partying. But Parrish hit the ground running. He told the partygoers, look, I know he smokes weed, does Molly, and ecstasy. What else do you have up here? He said he needed to know what state of mind Michael was in to really be able to look for him properly, thinking if he was on ketamine, he's not trekking through the forest, right? But if he's on acid or Molly, he could have walked to Portland.
You know, I mean, honestly, that's pretty smart.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
Narrow it down. What are we looking at? And sadly, you can tell that they had been taking care of him for some time because he knew immediately what to ask. He knew immediately. I mean, you can just see it.
Mm-hmm.
Parrish took Tina home that night, but he went back to the camp. Thursday morning, about a third of the campers were packing up and heading out. And then the little bus left. By Friday afternoon, all the partygoers were gone. But on Thursday, the family and search teams were out in full force. They had about 60 searchers. It got out on Facebook, and they ended up with around 200 volunteers searching. Every day, there was an average of about 100 to 150 people out there searching. For 19 days, they used helicopters, ATVs, dogs, drones, the usual, but found nothing. The family was given 2 lists of people who were at the party. It started out with about 50 people invited, but you know how that goes. They bring friends. They tell people, and then they show up and they bring friends. So the actual count was more around 100 people that were coming and going for those couple of days. And this gave them something to go on, but both lists were different. And this area was apparently so remote that it is known to have a lot of meth labs. There's also a lot of mining claims. So they were told you have to watch where you go. One step on the wrong land and you're in trouble. Also, a lot of people go missing in this area, supposedly. But they put out flyers in the area and in Eugene since he lived there. They got a lot of calls of sightings of people matching his description. He was usually described as being out of sorts and with another person. They got a call from someone saying that they had Michael at a 7-Eleven in Springfield, so Bree and her boyfriend head that way. They call back to make sure they know which 7-Eleven to go to, And the man who answered the phone said that a stranger had asked to use his phone. It wasn't him who called. It was the stranger, and he didn't know anything about Michael.
I don't understand why people do this shit.
Me either.
Like, what do they gain from it? I don't get that.
Nothing. They're just fucking with the family, and it's sickening. It's just, ugh, I hate to hear that. There are some fucked up people in this world.
And also, I'm sorry, but what are the odds that this guy heard this stranger on his phone? Because you don't go very far with someone else's phone.
No, he didn't hear him. He just was like, I didn't call you. And they're like, well, I got a call from this number. And he's like, it had to be that guy. Some guy asked to use my phone. I don't know anything that's going on. So whether it was him that called and he was just playing it off, or whether he did actually let somebody use his phone, either way, there was no Michael. Tragic.
Or it's like the freaking, these stupid ass telemarketers nowadays that fucking call you from the area code that you live in, but they're in fucking California or New York or fucking overseas or something like that, but they're playing it off like they're in, Broken Arrow.
Yeah. I remember one time when we had a landline. Hey, y'all. That's how old I am. We got a telemarketer call from our own phone number. Like, it showed up on our caller ID, and I'm like, how am I calling myself?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've gotten to where I don't even hardly answer the phone unless they come up on my caller ID. As somebody that I know, I ain't answering it.
Exactly.
They kiss my ass.
Yeah, if they really need to talk to me, they'll leave a voicemail.
Exactly.
That's where you get that from.
Yep.
Your dad.
Yep. If they don't leave me a voicemail, I ain't calling them back.
Now, a couple of months after the party, the family was given the pictures from that photo booth. Remember, they had a photo booth. Well, about 100 pictures were given to them, and Michael was not in any of them. Do you really think they only took 100 pictures at a rave?
No.
Okay. In December, a logger spotted something 0.7 miles away from the campsite. Police and the family came out, and it was some of the items Michael was last seen wearing when he disappeared. Several people say that that area had been searched multiple times in different weather conditions, and that stuff was not there. But it had to have been outside because it was weather worn, and some of it even had moss starting to grow on it. A shirt was found about 15 miles away that had possible blood on it, but it turned out to be human feces. And I immediately thought about, because we are in a big hunting area, people, when they go hunting, they wear an extra pair of socks, an extra shirt.
Oh, God.
I'm just saying, when nature
she's
calls.
Talking about your uncle.
Oh, God. No, he would.
Yeah, that tracks, right?
It's so funny.
He's the type.
He is the type. But anyways, Cop Uncle Trent had actually found a shell casing that was fairly new, but it was in an area where people had shot at a road sign, so I don't think that it was ever tested. I didn't see where it had been tested anyway. And now that that's all covered, let's talk about the weird stuff.
I thought that we'd already been talking about the weird stuff.
Oh, there's more.
But wait, there's more. A lot of partygoers say that there was no LSD or acid at the party. But supposedly, one of the women on the bus sells acid for a living. I find it hard to believe that she would go to a Renegade without trying to make a sale. Also, a friend got a Facebook message that some people at the party were known to puddle people. So you only need like a drop or two of acid. But when you puddle someone, you give them a lot more and it can cause damage. So typically it's liquid. You use an eyedropper, and when you're putting it in someone else's mouth, they'll just squirt the whole thing in.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is this the breast milk?
No, this is acid. So it's known to cause people to go into ego death, where your mind separates from your body, and then usually they get in dangerous situations. The message said that this person was puddled previously by someone who was at the party, and he had a bad trip. Then they left him in the woods because he didn't pass their vibe check. And this has been something that people have said is ridiculous. It never happened, and basically, this person is full of shit. So believe what you want. A neighboring set of campers say that Michelle was rude to them, that people from the party kept parking on their campsite, so they would have to make a move all the time. They said Michelle told them that they would be using LSD at the party, and one of the friends tried to pay them $50 to leave. They say that the party grew by the hour, and it got so out of control that the campers did end up having to leave at around 2:30 in the morning. The road was blocked by partygoers, so they had to make them move just so they could get out of there. And this was reportedly, I'm going to say Tuesday night into Wednesday, because they said it was the night Michael went missing. And since he went missing at 4 a.m., they could be talking about that it was that night. You know what I mean? So that would have been, if it was, just an hour and a half before Michael walked off. Some partygoers said that there were some people there that were considered the muscle. So there's a heavy belief that someone had silenced these partygoers or that they are in fear for their lives if they tell too much.
Okay, this is sounding less and less like a party.
Right?
Yeah.
It sounds like, the people are talking about two different parties.
Exactly, because the stories are so conflicting. One set says it was a good time, everything was low-key, everybody was chilling, and then the other set saying it was wild, had scary people, and was out of control. And these are things that make cases like these hard. Even if nothing sinister was done to Michael, all the inconsistencies can't be ignored. It casts that shadow of doubt and leaves family and friends searching for answers for years to come. And some people questioned Warren's involvement. Remember Warren, the axe guy?
Mm-hmm.
He was there and he didn't really know anyone. And some think that Michael OD'd and the others freaked out and hid his body somewhere. There's a lot of caves and tunnels out here. And some think he did really walk off and maybe got picked up on the road or something by someone who could have done something to him.
Well, yeah, but he also has kind of a record of going straight to his parents when he needs something, so...
That's another big point. He never went more than 2 to 3 days without talking to his parents.
Yeah.
No matter what situation he was in, they were very open with him. And even when they had locked him out and was like, we're not going to enable you, he still contacted them every 2 to 3 days to let them know he was okay. So they know that something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the theory that someone came for him. A story emerged that there was a group of people who showed up late that night and changed the whole atmosphere, that they took Michael away. Some say that they came specifically looking for him because someone at the party let them know Michael was there. Now remember, Michael said his wallet had been stolen on Monday night and it had about $600 in it. Others say that Michael owed someone $400. They had lent him money to pay his rent previously, so Michael had brought all that money so that they could pay them back because they knew they were going to be at the party. Well, that would mean that he only had $200 in his wallet. So why would he say there was still $600 in there when he disappeared? And some say that this second group of people was there to make money, like they were there selling drugs and stuff. And something just went wrong.
And who are these people?
We don't know. It was said that there were 2 people that were definitely there that night, but they weren't on either one of the lists that was given to the parents. And Parrish said one of them was a pathological liar. Another thing is that the family hired 2 PIs, but one of the partygoers told Parrish that they had talked to 3 PIs. Come to find out, one of the partygoers' moms was pretending to be a private investigator and talking to people.
Why?
I have no clue.
Oh my gosh.
Unless they're trying to find out what other people are saying to the real PIs, I don't know. And speaking of that, Donovan posted on social media saying that Parrish lured him to a hotel for a podcast for Rick Danger. He had met Parrish at this hotel before, so he didn't think anything of it. But when he got there was a man named Brett. He had a gun. He had a chair in the corner with a video camera pointed at it. And Brett asked Parrish to leave the room, and then he started in, asking Donovan if Kyle needed punishing. It was another partygoer, saying if so, he would make him disappear from the face of the earth. Donovan said he felt like he was being falsely imprisoned. But Brett said that this interview was videotaped. He did have a gun because Donovan said it, they had a gun. It was this and that. He did have a gun. But he said that you would find Donovan's fingerprints on it because he asked to look at it and was like manhandling it. Hell, they even went out for pizza after the interview, cracking jokes, having a good time. So believe what you will on that one too. In October of 2020, the family gets a message containing information like who did it, where it happened, detailed information. The next day, the tipper came in person with visual proof that they were telling the truth. And this info was not made public because this is an active investigation even to this day. But obviously nothing was done about it. It supposedly made the story of that second set of sinister people showing up more plausible. And then there's the twins. Since one of them was last to see him alive that night, since they were supposed to go to town and call for help, but then took a shower and came back and made somebody else go do it. They were getting a lot of criticism and they were doxxed. Their address was posted online.
Okay, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
These are all adults, right?
Right. From everything I've seen, they're all adults. None of these people were underage, but they're young, like early 20s, mid 20s, very young kids. Oh, I can't say kids, people. So they weren't harassing kids, but at the same time, You don't dox somebody if, you don't have any proof that anything bad happened. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just throw their name out there. But they were under heavy harassment. Kasaya, the twin who was on the bus with them that night, she obtained a Xanax to help deal with all this, but it was apparently laced with fentanyl, causing her to sadly overdose. Something that's not actually the case. Some speculate that she did it out of guilt, but then there's some speculation that she was purposely given this particular laced drug to keep her from talking. Either way, another life was lost. And that brings us to current day. An article from thatoregonlife.com says that there was a search scheduled for this month for Michael, thanks to Dylan's legacy. Some of you may remember that foundation from the Dylan Rounds case, right? Remember that?
Yep.
So they're out there helping. They're helping search 2 areas of interest with K-9 teams from Utah, Colorado, and Washington. They're also searching for the rest of the remains of Shane Springer in that area. So it's nice to see things like this where one family can step in and help another family like this. Sad that the circumstances are what they are, but it's great to see. And then an article from November 5th of 2024 shows that in the early hours of November 3rd, graffiti appeared on the side of the Lane County Jail in Eugene. In yellow chalk, it says, Blaze Powers knows what happened to Michael Bryson. And then in parentheses, it says, Kasaya and Kalia. Remember, these are the twins.
Do they not have cameras outside the jail?
I would think that they would, just in case someone tries to escape,
There's literally a camera right over the graffiti. But, yeah.
Gosh.
But they could have hid under a hoodie. They have ways to disguise themselves. And it may not be a clear view of them. So what they would have to do would be to track from where they came from to see if other cameras caught them or got some identifying features. And they're probably working on that because remember, this just happened a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Plus, who graffitis in chalk? I didn't understand that. It's not spray paint. No, that's
true.
It's literally yellow chalk. So there is still a lot to be said on this case. Hopefully they'll get answers soon because they just need to know what happened. Did he walk off on his own and OD? His family says he was terrified of the dark, so they think it's highly unlikely. Did he OD and they freaked out and got rid of the body? Did he get taken off by someone he upset in his past? Remember, he used to have a meth addiction. Maybe he owed somebody money, or maybe those are the people that showed up that night. Did he walk off and get picked up by somebody on the road who did something to him later? There's just so many questions.
Yeah.
But we wanted to get the case out there. We wanted to get his name out there. There's things still happening. This is 4 years later and there's still stuff happening. So that's good. There is a $10,000 reward for any information.
Yeah, so that explains a lot to why people are coming out of the woodworks and
it could be
calling and
that's true.
Saying, "Oh, he's here. We spotted him at this place. We spotted him here."
But please keep in mind, y'all, that when there's a reward, it's for credible information. Mm-hmm. If they go check out your lead and it's false, you don't get that money.
Well, also, it's basically it's got to be exact. It's got to be with the return or the actual information, real information.
When people would call, they would tell him, "Can you send me a picture? Take a picture of him. If you saw him, take a picture. I want to see that it's him." And some people did, and it wasn't him. But
wouldn't it also be kind of an obstruction of justice?
I would think so, but then they're anonymous tips. So how do you?
Oh, that's true. Well, why would you do an anonymous tip for a $10,000 reward, though?
Because if it's credible, they can get back to you and be like, "Hey, listen, nothing's anonymous, y'all."
No.
That's true.
I'm just saying.
That number's been pulled up. If you're calling, your number's pulled up.
They know where you called from, where you went on vacation last year. They know what your 401k looks like.
Exactly.
But either way, if you know anything, please call the Lane County Sheriff at 541-682-4150.
All right, well, that's it for this one. Glad you guys joined us. Catch us on the next one. Don't forget, tell your friends, tell everybody you know. If you guys want to be a sponsor on our show, hit us up. Till next time.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I said it.
Bye.